Hello students, welcome back to this video series. Okay, I shouldn't have said hello. If you remember the last lecture, when you call someone, do not start with a hello, start with a greeting. Okay, this is Dhruvi Bhatt here, your instructor, talking about telephone etiquettes. We already understood that etiquettes are some standards or norms which you should follow to be accepted in this society generally, as well as in your business profiles. Okay, so students, in the previous lecture we understood some of the etiquettes which a caller must follow. That was one side of a call. What is the other side of a call? What are the etiquettes that the receiver must follow? Pretty receiver, right? We are matching here. Okay, what are the etiquettes that the receiver of a call must follow to make sure that as a receiver too, he or she makes a very good impact? Okay, the first and foremost thing is, do not let your phone ring for more than 3 rings. It is very rude. Receive your phone at most 3 rings, because it would be rude not to receive even after 3 rings. So make sure that you receive the phone within the 3 rings. As soon as you receive the call, you introduce yourself or your organizations. Sometimes there can be some rules related to the organization that the secretary or whomever receives the call is not allowed to tell his or her personal name. Then you can give the name of the organization, that this is secretary of ABC Corporation Limited who is speaking. So as soon as you complete your introduction, make sure that you ask the introduction of the caller. Ask him his or her name in a very polite manner. May I please know who is this on the other side? May I please know your name? Who is the person who is speaking on the other end of the phone, etc. You can use such polite phrases to ask who the caller is. Moving on. Okay, if you are transferring the call, in many cases, in many huge organizations, secretaries or phone operators generally receive the phone call, after which they transfer the phone call to the intended person. If you are one such person who is receiving the phone call and after a period of time is transferring to someone else, make sure that you inform the caller that, okay, I understood who your intended receiver is. I will transfer the call. If you are aware, please tell the caller that it will take 2 minutes or 3 minutes, whatever time it would take. Okay, may I please transfer your call? This will take around 2 minutes. Please hold on, and I request you to be patient. You can speak like this to make sure that the receiver doesn't get frustrated, the caller doesn't get frustrated. Okay. One more thing you must be sure of, that as a receiver, you must always possess a notepad and a pen or a pencil. Okay, because if there is some message which you need to write down, you must not waste time to go and fetch these things. Okay, you must be aware that whatever if caller needs to leave some message, there must be some readily available material with you for writing down that message. Actually, phone operators and teleoperators are trained to keep a note with them always, along with some writing material. Okay. Moving on, students, let us understand some of the do's and don'ts while talking on a telephone. Whether you are on the sender end or the receiver end, you must follow these do's and don'ts to make sure that you create a good impact. Starting with, of course, some of the do's of telephone communication. What should you be doing when you are in telephone communication? These are basic summary of the etiquettes. Okay, first and foremost, make sure that you use polite expressions, right? Do not be very rude. Use polite expressions. May I please transfer your call? May I please know your name? Okay, who is this talking? Etc. Use polite expressions. Secondly, students, make sure that you guide the caller if you are not the intended receiver. Then guide the caller that how the person can reach to the intended receiver, whether you will transfer the call or how the person can reach to the caller, to the person he or she is finding. Okay, so guide him to the original or to the intended receiver. Thirdly, students, I already told you that make sure that you mention your name. Whether you are a caller or a receiver, make sure that you speak your name on the call so that the other person gets to know who he or she is talking to. The next thing which you must be aware of is that you must be very clear and precise, because it is a telephone communication. It might suffer from problems like problems in telephone line, problems of unavailable non-verbal cues, etc. So make sure you are very clear and precise as a caller so that your whatever your conversation is conveyed very properly. Okay. Next thing is listen to caller patiently. We all have this habit of interrupting constantly. Do not get into this habit. Listen to the caller patiently. Only then you will be able to answer the caller. Okay, do not interrupt the. Also make sure that you get any unfamiliar terms clarified. We have this habit of making up from the context. Okay, if we do not get some terms, or if we cannot hear to some terms which were called in the phone, we have this habit of making up from the context. Do not do so, because it may lead to miscommunication. It is very easy to ask again that what did you tell? Can you please tell it again? Or I didn't get your point. I didn't understand what your meaning was. Can you please explain it to me in more details? You can ask it. It is as simple as that. Our next point says that pick up the phone as early as possible. I already told you our 3 rings rule, not more than 3 rings. Last but not the least, sound very courteous and sound very excited, sound very enthusiastic when you are talking in the telephone. Do not sound very dull, very ill. It is not a good practice. So sound very courteous and very enthusiastic when you are talking on a telephone. These were the do's. Let us see some of the don'ts of telephone communication. First and foremost, do not slam your receiver. Do not, in any case, do not slam down your receiver. It is a very bad practice. Do not cut your phone when someone else is speaking. Secondly, okay, that's loud enough. Do not shout. Okay. Secondly, do not shout. Thirdly, obviously, this is a basic etiquette. Do not use slangs while you're talking on telephone. Use very subtle, polite language. Do not use slang. Make sure that you do not interrupt the caller when he or she is speaking, because interruption will lead to the person forgetting what the person was trying to convey to you. So this is also basically applied to any means of communication, that you should not interrupt a person speaking. It is very bad manners. Okay. One more thing, do not eat or drink while speaking. How will I look if I'm chewing something while taking this lecture, or I drink water and while I have water in my mouth I'm speaking? It would be very difficult for the person to listen if you are eating or drinking while having a communication on telephone. So do not do this. One more thing, do not converse with someone around you while you are conversing on telephone. We have this habit, without any notice, we start talking with someone around, and after that we clarify, okay, I was not talking to you, I was telling someone who was passing by. This is very bad practice. If you are on call, talk with the person on call only. Do not talk with anyone else around. One more last thing, do not speak too quickly or too slowly. I have already told this to you in paralinguistics. Too fast will get your message garbled. Too slow will make you boring. Same goes in telephone etiquettes. Do not talk too fast or too slow. Lastly, in this lecture, I would like to question you, or I would like to answer this question for you, that how to deal with difficult callers. Many a times you will come across people who are very difficult to deal with, who are not very much gracious, polite, courteous type of callers, and who lack telephone etiquettes, all those etiquettes which I explained you right now. If a caller calls you and lacks these etiquettes, how will you deal with that person? Okay, students, firstly, that person, identify the reason that why that person is difficult. In most of the reasons, we are obviously talking about formal communication right now. In most of the cases, the customer, an angry customer, is the only person who is a difficult caller. Okay, that customer might be angry for two reasons. One reason is he or she might be having some misunderstanding with the company, or he or she might be angry because the company has failed to satisfy the given promise. Okay, so as your company is at fault, or there is some misunderstanding of your company being at fault, and you are the representative of the company, you need to represent it very nicely. Okay, whenever such type of caller calls you, the first important thing which you must keep in mind is, do not raise your voice and patiently listen to whatever the other person has to say. In whatever tone, in whatever language the other person is talking, just listen. Firstly, just listen. Secondly, do not raise your voice against a raised voice. It will not lead to any solution. Okay, do not try to shout, or do not try to go beyond the etiquettes of telephone when you are talking with a difficult caller. Calmly try to understand what the problem other person has. If the problem is caused due to genuine company's fault, you can tell the caller that yes, we are at fault here, we will do everything to rectify this fault and to have you as our customer again. And you can also, if you have to deal with these callers and you do not have the authority to make decisions, you may tell that okay, I got your concern, I would forward it to someone else, I would forward the concern to someone else, we would look upon this in detail and we would get back to you. Tell this very calmly and make them understand. Thirdly, if you are not the right person, if you are not the correct person who is at fault, then listen to the caller and tell the person that okay, I got your concern, but I'm not the right person, or I'm not the authorized person to listen to this complaint. That is why I'll forward your call to the authorized person, to the intended receiver. Okay, make sure, students, the only one thing which you need to take care is keep your calm. Do not lose your temper while dealing with difficult callers, because it will look bad on behalf of your company, as you are actually representing your entire organization. You do not want to let your company down, and you do not want to lose a promising customer. That is why try to calmly explain them and try your level best. If it is not possible, if it is not possible to explain, just transfer the call to the higher authority. Okay, students, that was all for today. Thank you so much for such patiently listening to me. This is Dhruvi Bhatt signing off. Until next time. Bye bye, students.